Okay, all right. Okay. I don't dance. I don't play. Just just get my Louis bag, then I get it round in the air. Get my Louis bag, then I get it round in the air. Then I swag. 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 Boom 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 boom. Boom 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 boom. Swag, 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 swag. Ba-dum, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I can't have theme music because I'm streaming on multiple platforms, and I have no idea what songs I'm allowed to put on any of these broadcasts. So, in your mind, imagine me, coming live, and then you hear, "Don't dance, don't play, don't dance." No way. I just get my Louis bag, then I wave it around in the air. Get my Gucci rag, then I wave it around in the air. Then I swag. See, yeah, if I ideally I would be coming in this morning to Swizz Beats. You know, I would definitely be coming into Swizz Beats. It's Friday. It's Friday, and we made it. I just want to let everybody know it's Friday. We made it. You're safe. You're not dead. You're listening to me. I'm Ken Steele. I'm right here on the Daily Sesh. It's Friday, September 28th. How is everybody doing? Right poorly, as Gus T Renegade would say. Holy shit, it's crazy out here, man. It's crazy out here. We had a great broadcast last night. I was joined by one of our regular listeners, Mika. She was joining us, and I had a special guest, Alan, yesterday. One of my homies from the LGBT community, who was joining us, and he was just confirming some of the suspicions that a few of us were having regarding some of the developments societally in the last decade or so, and it's just becoming a country where we were just reflecting on how it's becoming a country where it's increasingly difficult for heterosexual males to operate normally as we have been, for I don't know however long, but it's becoming harder and harder for heterosexual males to be males, and it's becoming increasingly easier for homosexuals to maneuver throughout society. Better access to jobs, more money, less scrutiny from the law. I mean, like, all of this was confirmed by a homie of mine that I've known since college. And before anybody, talks crazy and says, what are you doing palling around with and, hanging out with homosexuals, yada, 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 shut the fuck up. I mean, it's 2018. My homie, Alan. God, I hate that tile. I'm gonna have to finally replace that tile. I'm gonna replace the tile. Like, this is bullshit. I mean, like, every single time I put that tile up, I put new tape on there, and it falls every single time. Every single time. Oh my gosh. Oh yeah. I see Logan Walsh is joining us. Oh geez. From way back in the day. What's going on, dude? All right. So yeah. So we were just talking about just how, man, specious claims from high school and college, two environments that have traditionally in American society been just bastions of youthful, what they used to call youthful indiscretion. Youthful indiscretion is just, I mean, like, that's the term that I used to, that I remember being used to describe some of the antics of the past, that people would get into but couldn't substantiate. Now, I guess we're in a situation where, we will entertain rumors, bullshit, and innuendo from decades ago. Decades ago. And that's where we're at in this country. I mean, like, it's virtually illegal to be a dude out here operating with weak game. You can't have weak game going into 2019. It's illegal. Don't, all of the things that guys do when they're, getting, learning their place in the world, learning how to interact with females, all of the mistakes and pitfalls that a guy can fall into are going to be held to scrutiny. That's the new standard. I mean, you can be held to scrutiny for things that happened when you were young, dumb, and full of whatever the fuck. Loaded. You're going to be held accountable for that. If you're a guy. If you're a girl, if you're a lady, you can do no wrong. You can neither officially consent, or you can neither be held liable for anything that you do that is under the influence while you were young. I guess that's the new standard with which we are operating in this society going forward today. And as you know, I like to start this story out or today out with a story from one of my favorite news outlets. The Daily Mail. You always hear me talking about the Daily Mail. Daily Mail is one of my favorites. They got all the fuckery and the bullshit off top. And this story, it comes to us from the UK. But I think it's illustrative of, I guess, the way that we are moving forward in society. And it's in the UK, but I think, the UK is pretty analogous to the United States in certain aspects. And I think that this is one of those aspects. So this story from the Daily Mail, the headline, I love their long-ass, very descriptive headlines. Trainee teacher, 19, who scarred man for life when she glassed him during a Christmas Eve row over a scarf is spelled jail because it was, quote, completely out of character. Oh my gosh. All right. And the bullet points are as follows. Megan Bradley threw a glass inside platform 5 bar in Chedley Hume. Good guys. Stop. In Cheadle Hume, Stockport, teen's friend had picked up the victim's scarf and was wearing it. The court heard Bradley is now left her teacher training course due to conviction. Bradley was given a 12-month suspended sentence and ordered to pay £350 to victim. All right. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this story here. Take a look at the attacker here. We have a picture of her smiling and looking very casual, smoking a cigarette, as it were. Not looking like a monster who scarred a man for life by hitting him with a glass. And I like how they're describing her attack as glassing. Just something that, it's like a nice lacquer over over some treated hardwood. Glassing. Yes, I glassed him. Glassed. That sounds like grazed. It doesn't sound like anything, that would scar you for life. But no, this is a violent woman who went ahead and attacked a man with a glass after he tried to take back a scarf that was stolen from him. So these are not only violent thugs, these are thievious thugs. All right, check this out. So a trainer teacher has avoided jail for glassing a man in the face during a Christmas Eve row over a scarf. Megan Bradley left Julian Berenger scarred for life in what judge described as a, quote, reckless act. Let's see. A reckless act. That sounds like, a reckless act sounds as though, that she was driving and she was, looking at her iPod and then she accidentally rear-ended somebody, tapped their rear bumper. That sounds like a reckless act. A reckless act, you are you are just walking through the hall and bumping into people indiscriminately. That's reckless. Attacking somebody with a glass and scarring them for life. That seems pretty deliberate, malicious, and vicious, actually. It doesn't seem reckless, but we'll carry on. Okay, so let's see. But the 19-year-old who had been drinking wine, cocktails, and vodka during a pub crawl, so she was on a bender, an alcohol-fueled bender, was allowed to walk free as her act of violence was, quote, completely out of character, end quote. Bradley used the glass as a weapon, picking up and throwing it at the victim's face when he tried to retrieve his scarf from her friend who was refusing to hand it back. The attack happened just before closing time at Platform 5, at Platform 5 bar in Cheadle-Hulme, Stockport, on Christmas Eve last year. So, okay. So these people, instead of celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior, baby Jesus Christ, they decided to go on a Christmas Eve pub crawl, an alcohol-fueled bender about town where they were having a row over a scarf that her friend stole. And they're not even saying that she stole the scarf. She picked it up and then refused to hand it back to the owner. That sounds like stealing. But, hey, these are white women that we were talking about, so they can do no wrong, as we've established earlier. All right. Yes. So the court. Okay. So the court heard how the victim is now, quote, very nervous in groups and social situations, end quote, following the incident. Now, mind you, this happened in Christmas Eve. The victim reported the crime to the police in a timely manner and is actually traumatized. This isn't a situation where, he's saying, oh, I'm scared of planes, but is still actively going on international vacations. No. I mean, this person is taking all the steps to see that his attacker is off the streets. But as we've seen earlier, no such action is being taken against this woman. Let's see. So, at the time, Bradley had been on a teaching training course at Leeds Beckett University and had worked 2 years at a primary school as a volunteer. Patrick Harris, defending, told the court how Bradley left her university teacher training course because of the conviction, and her ambitions now lay in tatters. She has taken up a job at an agency that provides intensive driving courses. So it looks like instead of being put on justice, she had to get fired from dealing with children because she is a drunken whore. But instead, this drunk is now teaching race car driving. It sounds like. I mean, you got to listen to the words here. Intensive driving courses. It sounds like race car driving. Sounds pretty fucking glamorous to me. I don't know. People try to become race car drivers all day, and race car driver instructors. This woman gets in a drunken bar fight, ends up scarring a man for life, and finds herself working at a dream job. Let's see. So, Ms. Harris pointed out at a pre-sentence report prepared by the probation service that, quote, had reflected that this woman was of previous good character. Right, because good people go out on drunken benders on Christmas Eve. That's what good people of good character do. Whatever. All right. The barrister described his client, who dreamed of being a primary school teacher, as industrious with a very good work ethic. Oh my God. This whole and yes, this is a drunken whore. By the way, check out what angles and makeup can do. I mean, this is who we're talking about, and let's see the pictures that they're. I love Daily Mail, by the way. They always use your selfies. They will use your thirst trapping selfies and put them in the news story. But yeah, so they show her showing off some legs, showing off some cleave, you know, good character, good natured, honest white woman. Yes, yes, yes. Certainly isn't going to help her friends steal expensive scarves and, assault the owner when they try to retrieve the stolen goods. Let's see. Judge Bernadette Baxter, of course, a woman, said that the argument was something and nothing over a scarf. That her friend refused to return it to a previous owner. She's told Bradley, "You had the glass in your hand and you threw it at the victim. I accept that that was a reckless act." Oh my God. You threw it at him, but not as an act to defend your friend, but aggression in the moment. Of course. Bradley said, "I was talking to someone I know through friends of a friend, and he found a scarf and just put it on. Julian grabbed the scarf and put it around his neck, and that's when the altercation started. I went over and tried to break it up. I was quite sober, to be honest. Everyone else was just jolly because it was Christmas Eve. Another girl who was trying to pull off Julian got in between them and got an elbow to the face. So, and I got in between them and got an elbow to the face. So, okay, so she's trying to play victim here. Typical that we've seen in these cases. Another girl was also trying to pull Julian off. Okay, the fight was getting worse. I grabbed my glass and I threw it towards them both. I thought that the liquid would hit them and make them stop. I threw the contents of my glass, hoping that the contents of the glass would stop the men, would hit the men and stop them fighting. I did throw the glass. Maybe I thought that the glass would smash on the floor to distract them and stop them from fighting, but I did not think it would smash. Yes, glass would not smash. Look at this. And this is the person that was harmed. I don't know if this person is a white person or some sort of Indian, as they would call them, or Asian, as they would call them in the UK. But I don't know. That's the victim in this case. All right, so let's see. Mr. Behringer, a customer relations officer, had been taken to hospital and treated for lacerations in his face. He spent the early hours of Christmas morning in AE, and his wounds had to be stitched and glued together. He added, "This completely changed my life. It has affected me more than I thought it would. I have suffered panic attacks. I struggle going to busy places. I had to be moved at work because I was getting scared of when people would come behind me. So it has not just affected my social life, but my work life as well. And it has left scarring to my face." Good fucking God. This ghoulish whore is fucking attacking people and allowed to walk the streets. Okay, so let's see. The judge accepted that the defendant had not intended to cause her victim serious injury, but caused cuts to his face, which has left him permanent scars. He said, you must know, as an intelligent girl, this is a serious matter. You used that glass as a weapon. You threw that glass." The judge said that the fact that she pleaded guilty at first opportunity and that she was a respectable girl from a respectable family was a powerful mitigation. Judge Baxter accepted that the attack was completely out of character, but added, "Nevertheless, there must be consequences." She handed Bradley with a suspended 12-month jail sentence and ordered her to pay £350,000 compensation to the victim. Bradley of Cheadle admitted a single charge of wrongdoing. So, yes, this drunken whore. Oh, by the way, I think a lot of the problems that we're seeing with this demographic comes from the fact that we have taken the phrase drunken whore out of our lexicon. We've made that a phrase that is something that we can't say. We can't say that, hey, that drunken whore went about traipsing about town and went ahead and engaged in promiscuous behavior. We can't say that anymore. We have to say, this every single one of these people is to be believed. Every single one of these people is to be believed because they are a woman, and that makes them, I guess, morally superior to all people. We cannot call any of these people lying, conniving whores. No, these are innocent victims who are being taken advantage of by creeps, men across the world, across society. They have done nothing wrong, and yeah, a drunken whore is being spared jail time so that she can go and funny. We don't know any of the terms of her probation or anything like that, but I'm venturing to say that there was no mentions that she would be prevented from entering any sort of drinking establishments. There was no mentions of that she would be prevented from drinking at all. Nope, she just gets a suspended sentence, a light ass probation, and just has to pay the equivalent of maybe like $500 for scarring a man in the face for life after one of her girlfriends stole his scarf. I can't believe it, but that's what's happening. That's what's going on in the world. Along those lines, we are just in this situation where we can't call drunken whores, and that is the political correctness of the day. A lot of people talk about political correctness and say that political correctness means that you cannot criticize blacks and the people that they call minorities or whatever. No. Political correctness is actually you cannot question white people. You cannot question racist acts. You cannot call racist acts. That is the main prevailing paradigm under which political speech has to be conducted in the United States. We spent an entire election cycle bringing Donald Trump, of all people, into power. And we had to pretend as though he was being brought into power by, the dejected, subjected, poor, and forgotten poor white American worker. Hardworking Americans, as Hillary Clinton called them when she was, running her racist game against Barack Obama. Hardworking Americans, honest, hardworking Americans. We can't even call them white people. We got to use all sorts of euphemisms and terms. We can't call them racist. No way. And when they lynch one of our heroes, they will get their hand-picked Negro spokespeople to go ahead and slam us for even questioning their actions. As we see in our next story here, some DNC shills, Mark Lamont Hill and Jamel Hill, slam folks for interjecting race into the Cosby sentencing. This is a report brought to us from the Atlanta Black Star, reported to us by Daryl Nelson. I'm just going to go ahead and take a look at who Daryl Nelson is. And, they're reporting on all of the black celebrity news du jour. We'll see if Daryl Nelson is on. All right, well, I'm not going to go too deep into this. Daryl Nelson, I'm just watching. Okay, so Jamel Hill and Mark Lamont Hill, and I don't believe they're related, but they want people to stop talking about racial injustice when it comes to Bill Cosby. See that? These intersectionalists. You know, we talked about intersectionality and the farce that it is for black people on previous broadcasts, but this is a working case study happening in real time where intersectionality is being used to squelch any discussion about injustice towards black people. You know, this is, I mean, like, this is an example of that. So stay tuned while we read more into this bullshit. And yes, it's cancel. Mm-mm-mm. Uh, whoa, 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 whoa. Just a second here. Just a second here. Am I still live? I just need to make sure I'm still live and I can be heard and I can be seen. Just a second here. I have been my stream has been affected here. So just bear with me for a second here. Okay. No, I've been going hard on Facebook, so I could be you know, they could shut me up at any moment here. They could shut me up at any moment here. So, you know, just be aware, be advised that yeah, you know, my presence on Facebook could be very tenuous because I am going hard in the paint. I got one of those alerts you know, on Facebook that make me nervous. You know what I mean? Like one of those you've been automatically logged off, you know, alerts. So I just needed to make sure that everything is great. I think I'm still allowed to be on here. I think, you know, they're saying you're not going hard enough. So I'm going to keep turning up. And you can see that I'm sweating. I'm actually literally turning up. That might be the compounds, but but yeah, I'm literally turning up. So yeah, this topic got me a little hot under the collar. My man, we're going back to the article here. And I can't stand seeing this mugshot, but oh my god, we're back. Okay, so all right. So, as it's been widely reported, the fallen comedian received a 3 to 10-year prison sentence for drugging and sexually assaulting Andrea Constand in 2004. I have to add that that's bullshit, and there was no evidence to substantiate that. So, carrying on. Afterward, on many social media brought up. Afterward, on many social media brought up other. Afterward, many on social media brought up other celebrities who have been accused of rape, sexual assault, and inappropriate behavior, but have not been heavily punished or imprisoned. People like Harvey Weinstein, Donald Trump, Bill O'Reilly, and Charlie Sheen. By the way, Charlie Sheen, who has been actively spreading HIV and paying girls off because of this, yeah, he is A-OK. He is fine. I believe last thing I heard about him is that he was a spokesperson for Lilo condoms. So, you know, the people at Lilo are over there giving Charlie Sheen money, and yeah, he's doing his act as some sort of advocate for HIV or whatever, and yeah, that AIDS having white boy is not even referred to as an AIDS having white boy. I mean, like, he's not even referred to as somebody who is maliciously spreading HIV. You know, he is just, you know, mentioned as kind of an afterthought whenever, you know, we talk about rapist celebrities. Okay, so going back to the article, there is a great quote. There is a great imbalance in our criminal system. We know this, she wrote. Quote, but your position can't be because Cosby is black, he should get the right to rape without repercussions like a white dude. Trash position. Man, fuck this. Dude, Jamel Hill, I'm done with Jamel Hill. I'm so done with this chick. I'm sorry. doesn't know where her bread is buttered, doesn't know, I mean, like, doesn't know that the fact that she still has a job is only because, hey, she has support from black men. She's actively participating in a lynching and trying to make it seem like she is advocating for some sort of justice. No, this is injustice. You're participating in injustice, and you're trying to pass this nonsense off as okay for your handlers at ABC, Disney, who are responsible for writing your checks. I get it. I see you. You're not fooling any of us. Um, let's continue with the article. The sports journalist also agreed that with those that said it hurts to see the 81-year-old locked up because of what, quote, the Cosby Show, end quote, meant. But she's able to separate the television character from the man himself. Sure, I mourn the idea of Cosby as in the TV show that made me want to attend a black college and heightened the importance of a black family, she wrote. Yes, she did. Mind you, Cosby did all that shit for her. But she's turning around and doing all this bullshit on Cosby. Good God. Let's see. But my mom is a rape survivor, and I survived a rape attempt as a preteen. I have negative fucks about what happens to Cosby. Get the fuck out of here. First of all, Cosby's not a rapist. Cosby didn't rape you. And if you are and if you did, if you were raped, report the person. Good God. I don't want to hear her come in and when she says in like 30 years talking about I'm sorry. Good God. All right. We support racism because I was raped in the past. Okay, I got it. All right, Mark Lamont Hill had pretty much the same stance as Jamel, except a few feet shorter. I'm sorry, my bad. No, Mark Lamont Hill had pretty much the same stance as Jamel, and he tweeted his own message about Cosby after he spoke about him on CNN. First, our biggest priority should be keeping track of Cosby's victims, he wrote. What a fucking pussy. And you're from Philadelphia, dude. Holy fucking shit. I bet you Bill Cosby probably had, Bill Cosby's money is probably tied up in getting Mark Lamont Hill in the position that he is in today. I bet you if you dig deep enough. I mean, like, isn't the dude out of Philly? So, man, fuck these people. Just no loyalty. And on top of that, you see that they're parading your heroes, right there in front of you, giving them the Versailles treatment. Acting like they were, some sort of, savage rapist. Good fucking God, just slandering my man Bill Cosby non-stop. All right, both Jamel and Mark's tweets sparked all kinds of comments. Quote, this trial was fixed, period, end quote. One person wrote underneath Mark's post. Quote, it's about the ruining of black culture while uplifting the white culture. You should be the first to know since you went to a racist school, end quote. First time I ever disagreed with you on a point, another person wrote to Jamel. First, no one is saying that he should get off. I don't believe he has been proven guilty at all. This was a media circus that got the conviction, and that's how. And if that's how it's done, explain all the white men who are walking free who were proven guilty. Y'all know it took 13 years to get to this point with Cosby. Y'all do know it took 13 years to get to this point with Cosby, a third person tweeted. People act like he got arrested on Monday and sentenced on Wednesday. This is a very long time coming. Yes, because the length of a lynching determines the validity of a lynching. Yes, because, this lynching was very slow. It is not that bad of a lynching, or it is justified, right? It was slow. It took time. They filled out all the paperwork. Oh, bear with me a moment. I will be right back. All right, just a sec. right. All right. I'm back. It's the Daily Sesh. And I'm your homie Ken Steele. Broadcasting to you live from Los Angeles. Where it's at the ass crack of dawn. I mean, like, it's actually before sunrise. And I'm happy to be up early with you. Ringing in the morning. Ringing in this beautiful Friday. And I'm kind of steamed, man. I'm kind of steamed. You just saw in our last story, in the story that we covered just now, that the racists are using their stalking horses, their black apparatchiks that they have been sponsoring in the media, in the news, on various platforms. Jamel Hill with ABC/ESPN/Disney. And Mark Lamont Hill, you've seen him on CNN. You've seen him on Fox News. And most recently, you've seen you've seen him on the Huffington Post. So these people are, they're paid by racists, sponsored by racists, and and it's likely that they were put through college by Bill Cosby. Good God. Good God. No loyalty amongst us. None. No code amongst us. Nothing of the sort. Nothing of the sort. Please, please, please do not be mistaken. When people speak of a no snitching law, that is not a black rule. That is not a black rule. That is not a black code of conduct. We will snitch on each other at the drop of a hat, especially if a white person is compelling us to do so. Especially. You want to get the truth out of a black person. Let's stick a white person in their face and put a microphone there. You'll get how a black person feels. And I'm not even gonna go in that hard on Jamel Hill and Mark Lamont Hill for saying what they're saying. They got mortgages to pay. They got rent to pay. I get it. And when they get in trouble, and they will, and when they get that work from the white supremacists, I'm not going to turn around and say, well, you said this about Cosby, so I'm just going to, not say anything about the injustice that's happening to you. Absolutely not. These are victims, man. We're in a racist system. It goes beyond Jamel Hill and Mark Lamont Hill. Now, their cogs in the system and their participation is required so that the white supremacists can go ahead and conduct their affairs without having to resort to immediate violence. This is the soft power, as Hillary Clinton put it. Using these sort of agents is part of their technique to get you to justify your own destruction. I can't necessarily fault them for carrying out their jobs. They're victims. What I can do, however, is compel you, the listener. I can compel you to take a more critical look at the situation that's going on with Cosby and that's going on, with this whole Me Too movement. And I can compel you to learn how to say things like, that's a lying, drunken whore. That right there. Being able to call bullshit right off the jump. You don't need to go and, put all sorts of conditionals on it at all. You don't need to say, well, I don't think that Cosby's I don't think that Mark Lamont Hill is a good blah, 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 blah. No. Mark Lamont Hill, he's fine, whatever. I think it's fucked up that he's saying all this shit, but, he's got bills to pay. What I think is more fucked up is that these lying whores are sitting here and being believed. That's all. I mean, like that's the stance that I think is a more constructive stance than going in and saying, I can't believe Mark Lamont Hill would say, no, dude, you've seen him for years on Fox News, you've seen him for years on CNN, you've seen him on that bullshit ass Huffington Post. So what can you expect? He's going to say this bullshit. I expect you to be smart enough to understand that he's got a role to play. And he, like you, is a victim. And he's likely going to be victimized in the same way that Cosby was. They're getting all of them. Mark Lamont Hill, you better be gay or else, we're going to get you. Good fucking God. So, yeah. Mark Lamont Hill putting out all sorts of bullshit media at the behest of his masters. Be mad at his masters. As opposed to the puppet. I can't look at Mark Lamont Hill, ventriloquist ass himself. This dummy. It's like, that racist ass ventriloquist, Jeff Dunham. He's got a bunch of racist ass puppets. I mean, he just got these puppets that are, just racist as hell, Real racist depiction. That's how he makes his bread and butter. Who the fuck do I look like getting mad at the puppet? And I think it's silly that I call the puppets racist. They're really just blocks of wood. They're racist depictions. They're foam and wood. It's the puppet master who is the racist. And that is the person that we should be focused on. These articles, Atlanta Black Star, very skeptical of that media outlet. Very skeptical of that media outlet. Articles like this, I don't know if articles like this are constructive. I do think that it's constructive in illustrating that these people are using certain people. And now that you know that these people are, stalking horses, these people are apparatchiks, these people are being used, sock puppets, by white supremacists to put out these bullshit statements. Proceed accordingly. As an intelligent victim of racism, proceed accordingly. Understand something. These people are conducting warfare on us at all levels. You gotta be one step ahead, and you gotta be focused on them. Gotta be focused on them. So, check this out. Now, all of this, comes on the heels of testimony of Christine Blasey Ford.
Dr. Ford, as difficult as...
I'm going to go ahead and play some of the testimony that took place yesterday. This footage, it comes to us courtesy of CBS. And we'll go ahead and load up the video here.
As this experience must be, I want you to know that your courage in coming forward has given countless Americans the strength to face their own life-shattering past and to begin to heal their wounds. By example, you have brought many families into an honest and sometimes painful dialogue that should have occurred a long time ago. I'm sorry for what this has done to you and your family. No one should face harassment, death threats, and disparaging comments by cheap-shot politicians simply for telling the truth. But you and your family should know that for every scurrilous charge and every pathetic tweet, there have been thousands of Americans, women and men, who believe you, support you, and thank you for your courage. Watching your experience, it's no wonder that many sexual assault survivors hide their past and spend their lives suffering in pain silence. You had absolutely nothing to gain by bringing these facts to the Senate Judiciary Committee. The fact that you are testifying here today, terrified though you may be, the fact that you have called for an FBI investigation of this incident, the fact that you are prepared.
Did you guys catch that, by the way? I don't know if you guys caught that, but the good senator there, he had to laugh at his own words, at the theatrical hyperbole that he was engaging in just then. I don't know if you guys caught that, but he had to laugh at his own damn words. I mean, like, just being ridiculous in that outset. You had nothing to gain. Yeah, fucking right, you had nothing to gain. Good God. Nothing to gain. In a world where people can barely pay their rent. And people will pay for salacious stories. You had nothing to gain? I love the timing that all of this has been released as well. Nothing to gain. Let's go back to this farce.
To name both Judge Kavanaugh and eyewitness Mark Judge stands in sharp contrast to the obstruction we've seen on the other side. The FBI should have investigated your charges as they did in the Anita Hill hearing, but they did not. Mark Judge should be subpoenaed from his Bethany Beach hideaway and required to testify under oath, but he has not. Judge Kavanaugh, if he truly believes there's no evidence, no witnesses that can prove your case, should be joining us in demanding a third.
This makes a mockery. You think I'm, some people will say, oh, Ken, you're being, you're making a mockery of a victim here. No, this whole thing makes a mockery of victims. This whole proceeding right here, just a mockery. That whole Cosby shit, a mockery. A mockery of real victims. People who are really suffering out here.
The Republican side will continue to ask questions to test your memory and veracity. After spending decades trying to forget that awful night, it's no wonder your recollection is less than perfect. A polished liar can create a seamless story, but a trauma survivor cannot be expected to remember every painful detail. That's what Senator Leahy has mentioned earlier. One question is critical. In Judge Kavanaugh's opening testimony, which we will hear after you leave, this is what he says.
No. Yo.
Dr. Ford, as difficult as this experience must be, I want you to know that your courage and to remember every painful detail. That's what Senator Leahy has mentioned earlier. One question is critical. In Judge Kavanaugh's opening testimony, which we will hear after you leave, this is what he says. I never had any sexual or physical encounter of any kind with Dr. Ford. I am not questioning that Dr. Ford may have been sexually assaulted by some person in some place at some time. Last night, the Republican staff of this committee released to the media a timeline that shows that they've interviewed two people who claim they were the ones who actually assaulted you. I'm asking you to address this new defense of mistaken identity directly. Dr. Ford, with what degree of certainty do you believe Brett Kavanaugh assaulted you?
100%.
100%. In the letter which you sent to Senator Feinstein, you wrote, I have...
We do not, we are now at the Maury portion of American justice. You know, here's my thing. Think about it like this. Have you ever seen an episode of Maury and the woman says, "Maury, I am 1,000% sure that this man is the father of my child." She's only 100% sure. She's only 100% sure. See, these bitches that say 1,000% sure, they get it wrong all the fucking time. You see it on Maury every day. Every weekday. I'm just saying. She's only 100% sure. Those bitches are like 5,000. I've heard a chick say that she was 50,000% sure. Do you know how sure that is? That's more sure than anything that I've ever done in my entire life. I've never been that sure about anything in my entire life. And here we are listening to this chick talk about something that she's 100% sure of that occurred, 37 some odd years ago. I'm just saying, yo, they don't even have VHS footage that's that high fidelity. I mean, like, the fidelity on a VHS tape from 1980, whatever the fuck, is not even that. It's not even that clear, and we're trusting this woman's memory. I'm not a Kavanaugh supporter. I think that I think he did it, by the way. I think that he did some shit. See, I'm holding him to the Cosby standard. Yeah, I think he did something, right? So yeah, he's guilty, right? So yeah, sure, lock him up, throw away the key. I hope they put his head on a pike and then they serve it, at the DNC, coronation. I don't know what the fuck you want to call it. I'm just saying, like, this is bullshit. As much as I think that, Kavanaugh is full of shit, I think that this chick is full of shit. I think he did it, but I think she's full of shit. How about that? Can I have that stance? I think this whole process is full of shit. I don't even think that this, needs to even. I mean, at least. We're preventing one scumbag from, getting, in a position of power, and that's great. I mean, he's already done plenty of damage, by the way. So I don't know why we, where she was, as he was moving up through the ranks. Why didn't you stop him sooner? So you let all these people get hurt, and now we're bringing it up. Okay, all right, I get you. But good golly, I mean, this is nonsense. She's only 100% sure, folks. We have people on Maury that are thousands of percent sures. Way more sure. Way more sure about something that happened less than 2 years ago. The kids are not. I can't be possibly older. I don't know how much older they can be, but I mean, like, this shit didn't happen more than 2 years ago. And they're thousands of more percent sure about something that this chick is only 100% sure of that happened 30 years ago or something like that. So I'm just saying, we're at the Maury standard of American justice.
I have not knowingly seen Kavanaugh since the assault. I did see Mark Judge once at the Potomac Village Safeway where he was extremely uncomfortable in seeing me. Would you please describe that encounter at the Safeway with Mark Judge and what led you to believe he was uncomfortable?
Yes, I was going to the Potomac Village Safeway. This is the one on the corner of Falls and River Road. And I was with my mother, and I was a teenager, so I wanted her to go in one door and me go in the other. So I chose the wrong door because the door I chose was the one where Mark Judge was, looked like he was working there and arranging the shopping carts.
Okay, all right. Okay, so what a cute story. Very interesting, all the details. And then I like how we now not only is she, clairvoyant enough to, positively identify people from decades ago that she only encountered one time in a drunken stupor at a drunken sex party where they were having sex, drunken sex, sorry, or allegedly or whatever, or attempted, or I don't know. Anyway, can you positively ID people from college? Like, to anybody that's been to like college and and that's more recent than high school. Can you positively identify people that you encountered at a frat party in college? Ask yourself that. I'm just saying, like, can you recollect, and can you go deep enough to where you remember? I'm just saying. I mean, like, this is the same kind of context under which this insane drunkenness took place. Good God! I know it's the beginning of the day, but it's Friday. Good God! It's supposed to be the end of the week. Anyway. So it's just I'm looking at this whole thing, and I don't know. This is, and then on top of that, not only does she have crystal clear memory, she also can read minds. She can tell emotional states. About to hear this special ability of hers as the clip continues.
And I said hello to him. And his face was white and very uncomfortable saying hello back. And we had previously been friendly at the times that we saw each other over the previous 2 years, albeit not very many times. We had always been friendly with one another. I wouldn't characterize him as not friendly. He was just nervous and not really wanting to speak with me. And he looked a little bit ill.
How long did this occur after the incident?
I would estimate 6 to 8 weeks.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Flames raced through a home in West Suburban Lisle, sending 6 people to the...
All right. Action news. Action news. Do. Action news. Dun dun dun. Dun dun dun. Dun. I'm sorry, I just man, fuck that bullshit. Gossip, innuendo, oh my God, and he looks so uncomfortable. This white boy's face was white. you know, this dude, you know, rapes you, and you're just like, what's up? And he's just like, sup? And you're like, oh yeah, he was mad uncomfortable, bro. He was mad uncomfortable, bro. He was wild uncomfortable. What a fucking joke. I mean, like, yo, he needs to withdraw his thing. But I mean, the vote is. I think the vote is going on right now. I think the. Well, I think the vote will start soon.
Read a letter that we received from our judge
All right.
last night, as I stated in my attorney, Barbara Van Gelder, September.
Yeah. So there. I mean, like, it's going on right now. So, you know, I'll be following that story, but. Yeah, you know, I don't really care. I mean, like, they're just trying to figure out which racist is going to be in place to justify the slaughter of black people, which is going on right now. I mean, like, that's actually happening right now. I mean, like, I know people, you know, are like, you know, it's not happening, but it's totally happening. Trust me. I mean, like, you know. Don't just don't just take my word for it. You know, just check the news. You'll just see, you know, the bodies piling up. I mean, really. And then the claims are getting more specious. It's just, sorry, the claims are just getting more absurd. Sorry, sorry. Less specious, more absurd. It's pretty cartoonish where we're at with respect to. You know, how we're killing black people. You know, the Blasey Ford situation, you know, has a lot of commenters. You know, one such commenter is fermented racist Ruth Bader Ginsberg. Just this fucking creep. She's really turned on by the Me Too movement. Let me go ahead and you guys see this clip.
I am really turned on by this Me Too because these Me Too complaints are every woman of my vintage has not just one story but many stories. But we thought there was nothing you could do about it. Boys will be boys. So just find a way to get out of it. And that Me Too was also an example of women coming together in numbers. So it was one complaint, and then one after another the complaints mounted. So women nowadays are not silent about bad behavior. What Justice O'Connor said, she said, women have to get out there and do things and make an impressive show. The more women that are out there doing things, the more women will be encouraged to do things. And we will all be better off for it, men, women, and children.
Thank
Yes, because we are all better off with mob justice. All right. So, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she said that nonsense. And it's interesting because, you know, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, again, a fermented racist, and you'll see why I say this. You know, she says she's a certain vintage. I say that she's fermented. Let's see. Kavanaugh, who's nominated by President Trump, has denied the allegations, blah, blah, blah. George Brown professor Ginsburg gave talk to first-year law students on their Facebook page. And then, you know, she says that, you know, she you know, drops a little innuendo saying that she's turned on. I think that those words were very carefully chosen by the aged judge. Um, I think that, yep, very carefully chosen words. Legal people, they don't really just speak off the cuff. So I definitely think that turned on was purposely used by the fermented racist Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, if you recall, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, who is also affectionately known as the notorious RGB, she was also the person who was responsible for this. Ruth Bader Ginsburg on Kaepernick protests. I think it's dumb and disrespectful. So, hey, look, bullshit ass claims of harassment that happened decades ago, are more justified than complaints about police who are violating the Constitution, which you're supposed to be upholding right now. I mean, like, they're doing it right now. And you're saying that speaking out against it is dumb, stupid, and disrespectful. Fermented racist Ruth Bader Ginsburg, an old witch who has too much power. Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg never shied away in on controversies of the day, said she thinks it's, quote, really dumb, end quote, for San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick and others to refuse to stand for the national anthem. But the 83-year-old justice said she would, quote, wouldn't lock up a person for doing it, end quote. Ginsburg made comments to Yahoo's Katie Couric while promoting her book, My Own Words. In the interview, Ginsburg steers clear from criticizing the presidential candidate Donald Trump, but calls the rhetoric of the election cycle, quote, distressing, end quote. She updates her health status, her thoughts on Hillary Clinton and Merrick Garland's nomination, and admits to be amazed Couric that she had never seen the famous parody of her on Saturday Night Live, national anthem protest. Of Kaepernick and others, she thinks that their actions are, quote, dumb and disrespectful, end quote. Quote, I would never have the same answer if you had asked me about I would have had the same answer if you asked me about flag burning. I think it's a terrible thing to do, but I wouldn't lock up a person for doing it. I wouldn't point out how it's ridiculous. It seems to me to be me to do such an act, end quote. Kaepernick said Tuesday it was, quote, disappointing to hear a Supreme Court justice call a protest against injustices and oppression, quote, dumb, stupid, dumb, end quote. I was reading an article and it refers to the white critique of black protests and how they try to legitimize it, calling it, quote, idiotic, dumb, stupid, and things of that nature, so they can sidestep the real issue, end quote. He told reporters Tuesday, according to the Mercury News, quote, as I was reading that, I saw more and more truth how this has been approached by people in power and white people in power in particular, end quote. In 1989, before Ginsburg joined the court, the Supreme Court held that the conviction of a man named Gregory Lee Johnson for burning the flag was inconsistent with the First Amendment. Of the athletes, Ginsburg said, quote, if they want to be stupid, there's no law that should be preventative. If they want to be arrogant, there's no law that prevents them from that. What I would do is strongly take issue with the point of view that they are expressing when they do that, end quote. So yeah, look, this bitch is just making it very clear that she supports racism, white supremacy, and anybody that's protesting against it, any action that's being taken against it, no matter how benign, even something as benign as kneeling during the national anthem, a sign of respect by the way, genuflecting before the anthem instead of standing in protest, mind you, of injustice. I mean, I can't believe it. I can't believe that a sitting judge would say such a thing, but she would support bullshit ass temporal witnesses, spectral evidence type claims. Spectral. I could tell that he was uncomfortable. I said hi and he said hi back and it was weird. Ooh. Believe women? I believe evidence. I believe that people lie, regardless of gender, regardless of sexual identity, regardless of sexual orientation, however politically correct you want to get with it. And by the way, the politically correct paradigm of the day, mind you, as I said in the outset, the only politically correct paradigm of the day is don't upset the white people. More, and I guess more particularly, don't upset the white women. They can lie, they can carry on, they can booze about. They can cut people in the face with glass. They can rape children. They can infest a whole community with opiate drugs. They can be a sitting Supreme Court justice and express very arrogant, very racist disregard for injustices being protested by some of the bravest people in our society, people who are putting their livelihoods on the line in a very public manner. I mean, not everybody is going to get a contract from Nike. And, Nike was, debating not to give Kaepernick the contract. And by the way, don't stop. Look, if you want to, rep blackness and have a protest and everything like that, don't. Just please don't equate it to, the fucking Nikes. It's a very disappointing move. I'm just saying it's not the best move. I like you. I like you guys, but sometimes when you do things like rep Nikes as a sign of solidarity, I guess, or it's just, guys, it's just as dumb as burning them in protest. It's just as dumb as burning them. That's kind of dumb. That's really dumb. But yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, fermented racist. In 1989, before Ginsburg joined the court, the Supreme Court held that the conviction of a man, Gregory Lee, was burning with. Okay, sorry. Ginsburg's words were similar to the comments that the late Justice Antonin Scalia made when he was asked about his vote in favor of Johnson in the flag burning case. If I were king, Scalia told CNN's Piers Morgan in 2012, I would not allow people to go about burning the American flag. However, we have a First Amendment which says that the right of free speech shall not be abridged. That is not similar to the answer at all. If you recall, Ginsburg's answer, let's see. If they want to be stupid, there is no law that should be preventative. If they want to be arrogant, there's no law that prevents them from doing that. What I would strongly do is take issue with the point of view they are expressing when they do that. She's literally talking about why they're protesting. That's what she takes issue with. The point of view. Antonin Scalia simply takes issue with burning the flag. See, those two statements are not similar at all. Antonin Scalia imagined a situation where he was a king. And the issue he takes with it is that you're burning the flag, not with the fact that you're going against, the king's men. Now, I'm sure that he would have an iron-fisted rule if he were king. I'm sure that would be the case. But, the media is doing... It was doing one quite of just the mental sleight of hand. Hate to use metaphors, but just the switcheroo with that one. So yeah, I just I'm just Ruth Bader Ginsburg, notorious RGB, stealing people's identity. But the notorious RGB, yes, she is, a fermented racist, and that is why I call her as such. I mean, like, that statement alone, that exchange alone, yes, there was a subsequent apology that was issued, but it wasn't done so on, Katie Couric's show. No, that apology was issued, when was the apology issued? The apology was issued by a statement by some sort of communications director. So, I'm just, to hell with that bitch. I'm sorry. To hell with that bitch. Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She supports Me Too. She supports all sorts of bullshit ass claims about, about nonsense. She just supports just killer cops running around, running amok, running up in people's homes, killing them. And, she literally supports that because she said in her original statement before any sort of apology, because I don't count apologies. You say what you mean. And the apology is just, to shut people the fuck up. That's all that is. Hey, I said what I said. I'm sorry. Now shut the fuck up. So, yeah. What is that? Yeah, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is a bit of a problem. And, here's the thing. You talk about liberals and conservatives. That's a supposed liberal, right? Has nothing but smoke for Colin Kaepernick. You got nothing but smoke for Colin Kaepernick. A woman, oh, she's a woman. Sounds they compared her statement to a man's statement. And that man's statement was not nearly as racist and vicious as her statement. With all the woman that she is. Christy Beasley Ford. Only 100% sure. Only 100% sure that she can read that motherfucker's mind. That's all. 100% sure. That's all. 100% sure. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, dude, just as vicious. I mean, the viciousness with her words. She called not only the stupid, idiotic, arrogant. Man, I'm getting really fucking pumped over here. I'm just letting you guys know. I mean, it's Friday morning, and that is who we got, you know, who's really turned on by the Me Too movement, sitting on the goddamn bench of the Supreme Court. You guys, I mean, like, look, liberals, Democrats, whatever you want to call them, I am not riding with you. I'm not on your side. I'm on the black side. That's it. I mean, that's it. And the black side of things, I'm on the black side of things. To hell with all of this Me Too stuff. To hell with your Kavanaugh. To hell with your Democrats and your Republicans. All of y'all can eat a throbbing dick. Next story that we have on the news. You know, we've been talking about cash bail and everything like that, and, you know, just all sorts of bullshit that's been going on in society and everything. You know, routinely killers are just, you know, the worst killers in our society are not acknowledged as such. Even when they're, I mean, even when they're in the midst of you know, their legal battle for survival. You know, go to the New York Post. Dad accused of killing his family doesn't like monster label. This is by Tamar Lapin. Tamar Lapin. Let's see. Who put this stuff out? Tips, angry comments, you know. So she writes for this racist New York rag over here. This is Tamar Lapin. He's responsible for putting out a bunch of bullshit. You know. Bette Midler. I believe Bette Midler is a racist as well. Second here. So she's writing this. And I know that it's supposed to be written in, I guess, in a tone that's like, I can't believe he's, you know, sympathetic. He's getting upset. But listen to even just the headline of this. Dad. Why are they calling this accused killer Dad? And if you notice something, when there's an accused, you know, there's a white person who's accused of a crime in the media, they're frequently reported as fathers, you know, steel workers. You know, there'll be like a tradesman, you know, a firefighter, an off-duty cop. You know, black person is the killer. You know, they will list, you know, just suspected, you know, suspect. You know, this monster. They would just go to the monster. You know, this is about how he doesn't like being called a monster. And I know this is supposed to be kind of in a sarcastic tone, but it's just like, it's not. It's in the fucking news. They're calling him a dad. Colorado dad. A dad. Just so affectionate. Like it's her dad. Well, what the fuck? Tamar Lapin. The fuck is with that headline? Weird. Why are we even examining how this dude's emotional state? We wouldn't even have this article. Good gosh. The Colorado man whom authorities accuse of killing his pregnant wife and 2 kids is upset by the widespread coverage of the case that he's receiving. Quote, he's very frustrated. He didn't know that everyone knows about the case, end quote. A source speaks with Chris Watts from Weld County Jail told People magazine. Watts, 33, was arrested August 15th and charged with the murder of his wife, Shannon, 34, and their daughters, Bella, 4, and Celeste, 3. This dude is just going ham, allegedly. Let's see. For more than a month, Watts had been spending 23 hours a day in his cell under suicide watch with no TV or reading material. Once a day, he's allowed to go to the common room where he has access to a communal newspaper. It was only recently he learned that his case was covered nationally, the source told the magazine. He is not happy about how he's been portrayed. He feels like no one understands him, and nobody knows what happened, the source said. He thinks that if they did understand, they'd realize that he's not a monster that everyone says he is. Watts claimed his wife went berserk when he told he wanted to separate, and that's why, and that she's the one who murdered their daughters. His arrest affidavit shows that he confessed to strangling Shannon, who was 15 weeks pregnant, but he claims that it was after he watched her kill Celeste. The gravity of the situation has hit him like a ton of bricks. Depression is setting in, and he's despondent. Watts hadn't entered a plea yet and is due back in November. Good Lord. I don't know what's sarcastic about that. I think that's just like, I think that guy is just, I think that article is just, all about how we have to feel sympathy for this dude who is allegedly killed his whole family. And Cosby's getting similar treatment. Cosby's getting, the whole lockdown. So, I'm of the opinion that that this coverage is bullshit. I'm of the opinion that it's very sympathetic, and even the image they used of him makes him look like a responsible white man. He's got glasses. He's been working. He's been reading. He's a little gruff. But, this is a responsible white man. Give him a gun, and you can make him the star of the movie. He's a genius. He's a genius. So, they don't, it doesn't, I mean, like, I don't really get, super killer vibes. When I just don't get it. I don't get that. So, let's see. So, yeah. Let's just go ahead and finish out the morning by examining another case of, I did nothing wrong. We were covering this case of Dr. Catherine Hoover, who was accused of fueling West Virginia's opioid crisis, and she still thinks she did nothing wrong. and he issued more than 335,000 opioid prescriptions, more than any doctor in West Virginia. When the feds raided the clinic, she fled to the Bahamas. Let's see. Now, this section is they called it Pilliamson. Hoover arrived in Williamson around 2002 and began working at the Mountain Medical Center, a private clinic formerly known as the Williamson Wellness Center, which took anyone who could pay in cash. At the time, her medical license was suspended because she had been accused of asking a 17-year-old girl during her first gynecological visit 7 years earlier in Philippi, West Virginia, if she or any of her female friends would have sex with her teenage sons. What the fuck? According to administrative agency records, she was allowed to continue practicing, but only under the supervision of another doctor. What the hell? Williamson is a struggling city of some 33,000 residents just across the Tug Fork River from Kentucky. When coal mining collapsed, it left behind a proud but hurting miners, many of whom were already reliant on painkillers. However, Hoover and the other mountain medical care workers exploited that drug addiction, federal investigators said. Every day, hundreds of customers, some of whom lived hours away, lined up at the clinic starting at 6 a.m. to get their opioid prescriptions renewed. First-timers paid $450 in cash to see a doctor and get a prescription. Undercover investigators discovered. Returning customers paid $150 to see a receptionist who could hand out new prescriptions after asking a cursory question or two about their health, investigators found. One of the investigators reported that he was told by a nurse at the clinic to get an x-ray because if the feds walk in right now, she wanted them to be able to pick up any chart that they want and find that the clinic is searching for what's wrong with the patient. The prescriptions were filled at 2 Williamson pharmacies just 4 blocks apart that dispensed some 20.8 million painkillers over a decade. So yeah, they let this go on for over a decade. Let's see. They called it Pilliamson instead of Williamson. Mingo County prosecuting attorney Michael Sparks told the Charleston Gazette in 2011. It was an open secret, you might say. No, it was just, white people being white people allowed to carry on with their criminal activity as they've been doing since, before Prohibition. I mean, just, carrying on, making their own drugs, manufacturing drugs, and, just dispensing it amongst their friends. Except you guys are now doing it with licenses and stuff like that. Talk about how sophisticated this operation is. I mean, this is just organized crime. This is straight up cartel shit. Hoover was West Virginia's top prescriber of controlled substances, according to federal court records. She described the clinic's owner as its bread and butter. She was described as the clinic's owner as its bread and butter during a period when it was bringing in large sums of money. In 2009 alone, Mountain Medical took more than $4.6 million in cash, investigators found said in court filings. The raid and its fallout. On March 2nd, 2010, federal investigators capped a 2-year undercover probe by raiding the clinic and shutting it down. Goodwin, who had made a name for himself overseeing the prosecution of former Massey Energy coal kingpin Don Blankenship following the deaths of 29 mine workers, later boasted about shutting down the notorious pill mill. quote, now we've put the operators in prison and hit them in the pocketbook to the tune of more than 1.5 million, end quote, Goodwin said 2013. Hoover and the others were accused of prescribing boatloads of pills to people in return for cash. However, unlike Hoover, Myra Sue Miller, the office manager, and William Rickman, another doctor who worked at the clinic, were charged with crimes. Rickman was convicted of 2012 selling narcotics and prescriptions to patients that he never examined. He was sentenced to 6 months in prison, had $413,050 and 89 cents confiscated from a Mountain Medical account that was listed under his name. Contacted by NBC News, Rickman was not eager to talk at length about Hoover. From what I understood, she left the country and went to her island. Rickman said in an interview, "The less I know about it, the better." Rickman recalled Hoover as a doctor who could not say no to patients seeking opioids. He said she pre-wrote painkiller prescriptions and never saw many people of the patients who came to collect them. She was the softest person. She said, quote, anytime I could get people off medication, they would go to her and just keep she would just keep increasing people's medication. Rickman's recollections were echoed by former patients of Hoover's, including Wilbert Hatcher. Hatcher told The Guardian in 2016 that he was refused to go to the clinic in 2003 after he fell down stairs while working at a motel. Within 6 months of being prescribed painkillers by Hoover, he was hooked. I had to have that pill every morning to get out of bed, to function, he told The Guardian. To go without it, the physical pain, oh gosh. Your hand is jerking. You feel the cramps in your arms and your legs, the anxiety. You're trying to figure out, what am I going to do here? It's real bad. I'll tell you, it's the worst time in my life. Hatcher did not return calls for comment. Damn. Man, this is a long ass story. All right, well, you know what? Look, we'll continue this, at another time. I mean, like, we'll get to how she fled to the Bahamas. This is, all really interesting. So I guess it's a multi-parter. But good God, just the egregious law breaking, and all the while contending that she did nothing wrong. And I'm sure if you ask the criminal in the first story, how did she really feel about what happened there? She would say that she did nothing wrong, but they're using the term. But since they probably have security footage and everything, they're probably saying she's just a good character. She comes from a good family, so you know what? No jail time for you. You come from a good family. This is completely out of character. Slap, slap, slap on the wrist. Probably violate that probation like 5 or 6 times. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry. And all the while, the homie Cosby is in prison as we speak right now, for touching touching a titty, or whatever. I don't even know. Nobody can tell me exactly what he did. Just people call him a rapist, and people say that he drugged and raped, and I don't know, and I have not seen any evidence that he drugged and raped anybody. But whatever. We got a white man who just doesn't want to be called a monster. We got Tamara Lopin, telling us how he doesn't want to be a monster. Just ridiculous. It's Friday, and yeah, I just I find that it's tough to deal with all of this nonsense throughout the week, but it's definitely a pleasure, coming to you guys and broadcasting about it. Very cathartic. Um, it's wacky, the place that we're at. We are now at the Maury standard of justice. We have a Supreme Court justice who is being held to scrutiny about rumors and recollections from somebody's memories and everything like that, and it's ridiculous. Man, Tesla is just Tesla is just going down, down, baby. Let me see. I think Tesla's going up. Where is it? Hmm. Yeah, that's really expensive. Yeah, I mean, like, that's a really good option though. Anyway, yeah, so I'll take a look at that. But yeah, so I'm just saying we are at the Maury standard of justice. She's only 100% sure though. So I don't know how really sure that she is. Now, I know that the vote is being held this morning. We'll see how that turns out. I really don't care because, as we've seen earlier, with Ruth Bader Ginsburg, this is really just, one side of racists versus another side of racists. And honestly, this emotionalism, as we discussed yesterday, I just don't think it's going to be an effective way to go forward in a world that is still cold, rational, and the actors, you know, they still, acquiesce to nature as their guidance for, how they're getting down. They're not engaging in calling women men and men women. They're not really trying to have political identities based on what you like to do with your genitals. You know, they're busy carrying on, plotting on us, as we, discussed a few days ago. Donald Trump is smiling and walking around and carrying on in front of the UN, having a ball of a time, enjoying himself. Enjoying himself way more than Obama ever did, by the way. Donald Trump just lets his nuts hang. And everyone's plotting on us. And, or on the United States. I don't know about us, but on the United States. So I'm just saying, that's that's where we're at. I want to address real quick before I get off, because I'll give you guys a solid 2 hours. I feel like you guys are owed. You guys are owed that. I'll give it to you guys. Cover a couple of posts that I made recently. I think that's something that I'll do. Just expand on some of the, on some of the ideas that I posted recently. Just a second here. So So yeah, liberal think pieces about racism on the news feed are the new lynching postcards. So yeah, after an injustice happens to black people, you ever notice that your goodly liberal friends, your goodly liberal white friends, they got nothing but, think piece after think piece to post about how what just happened to black people or a black person is the height of injustice. That is the modern day equivalent of passing around the postcard that has the picture of the lynching right there. See, in 2000 and whatever the fuck that we're in, you cannot go and, in reaction to a lynching, it's just not polite, or it's not seen as polite to go, oh shit, a lynching, yeah. You got to make it look like something else. So in comes the liberal think piece that agrees with all the victims, or appears to agree with the victims, and appears to be sympathetic to the victims, but really what it is that it is just, an account of the successful racist action that took place against some black people. That's all it is. It's disguised as a liberal think piece. Let's see. Yeah. I believe these lying whores as much as you believe these men accused of crimes. Yeah, I hold, I honestly, yeah. I hold defendants, especially black defendants, in higher regard than I do a lot of these Me Too people. Because some of these people are perpetrators of the same type of salacious behavior that they are accusing people of. People say that Anthony Bourdain is dead behind that shit. That's what I heard. And that's all allegedly. I don't know for sure, but that's what I heard. I believe, I believe these chicks about as much as people believe black defendants when they say they didn't do anything. Let's see. Said black people. Calling Cosby a rapist will not protect you from racism. It will not. In fact, it will leave you more subject to racism. A racist once told me and said to me with a dead face, with just a dead look in his eyes, just dead serious. He said, "Look, there is no such thing as racism that harms black people. There is only racism that harms white people and Asian people. And that's it." He said that to me with a straight face. And that's something that he teaches people as well. Tons of people. I'm not going to name names or, give people any sort of clout or anything like that. But I mean, like, this dude basically articulated what a lot of racists think. And that's what they think because thinking that way helps them. It doesn't benefit racists to acknowledge the system of white supremacy or the role it plays in helping them maintain power against non-white people. So Yeah. So if they can go and say there is no racism, they can also say that George Zimmerman is not a murderer. You going and saying that injustice is justice just because a court said it, you're speaking against yourself. A court found that O.J. Simpson was found not guilty of killing Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown Simpson. But racists decided that no, he's guilty. And we're going to make him guilty. In the case of Bill Cosby, matter was settled. Money was paid out. Agreements were reached. Racists said, fuck your agreements. And we're going to use the statements made, use the statements made under the condition that these statements be, secret. So, yeah. Calling Bill Cosby a rapist, which he isn't, will not protect you from racism. In fact, all it will do is make it easier for people to call you a rapist yourself or anything they want. Because now the standard is, hey, we feel you're guilty. Damn the facts. We're just going to make you guilty. We can do it to Cosby, and we can do it to you. Cosby has $400 million. You don't. Let's see. Black people shaming another black person for being a victim of racism only hurts yourself. Yeah, along the same lines. Yeah, you're just, that doesn't help you at all. And, that, I guess, is a summary of just recent posts I made. Hey, check this out. Y'all. Feel free to call in next time. The number is 323 306 2895. You can go to the comment section at streamlabs.com/I love Ken Steele. So yeah, man, just be aware that there's just a lot of bullshit going on. It's all racial. Like for the most part. And people who are trying to convince you that it's not, the black people that they have out here, they're part of it, but they're not the ones that are responsible. No way. They're just trying to earn a check. Like me. Anyway, you have a nice one. Enjoy yourself.